announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
Listen up, you blind slapnut.
If I can be serious for a minute.
This is the Flex Network. This is the Flex Network. Flex on them. Flex on everybody.
The real reason I'm here tonight is because we are live!
We are NXT.
It's your time, folks!
Sweet! A little bit of the bubbly.
The preceding announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
For life.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all the ages, the SnowMan is back on the airwaves after a week off. I know, a lot less, hype on that for the fact that it's been a while, guys. Had a nice little break. We had some guests take on the show, take over, be on the network for a little bit. If you guys checked it out last week, we had Rhett and Rave on the network doing a show with Mr. Zach Gowen. But now the SnowMan is back to take back his show, the Flex Network Wrestling Week in Review is back with you guys, and better than ever after a nice little break. So, what has been going on in the world of wrestling? Well, we're going to talk about it here on the Flex Network as we are on the road to WrestleMania Backlash, and I'm going to have a talk about that in a little bit because, man, interesting name with that one, WrestleMania Backlash. I do not know what they were smoking or even thinking about over there at WWE. Thinking, you know what, we got Backlash. How do we spice it up? I know, let's make it WrestleMania Backlash. It's genius. Actually, you know what? Hold on. It's genius. Wrong. It's not genius, guys. It is literally one of the interestingly dumb ideas that you could have come out of. But again, I'm not the one making the decisions on naming pay-per-views over there. But we're on the road to WrestleMania Backlash, and it is going to be interesting. We had a grand, impactful moment in the wrestling business as we have a new world champion at Impact in the one of a Kenny Omega. But you know what? Hold on. Before I get too far into that world, let's get back and talk what is also going on in the world of wrestling. Let's get through with the news report over here because we got a lot of stuff to talk about. New Japan Pro Wrestling was supposed to have some shows coming up in the month of May, the 8th, the 10th, and 11th. But with what is going on in Tokyo right now with the virus and everything, they are having an ongoing state of emergency. So unfortunately, for the Road to Wrestle Grand Slam tour, those three events, May 8th, 10th, and 11th from Korean Hall, it has been canceled. It is unfortunate. So hopefully things start to cool down over there in Tokyo. And if you've been hearing what's been going on with Snoop Dogg and his relationships with AEW and Dynamite, and Dynamite and WWE. Apparently, with what happened back in December, not December, January, with Snoop Dogg making his appearance on Dynamite at New Year's Eve, Smash kind of didn't sit well with WWE execs, with Team WWE, to the point that apparently he had a 2-week pause on, with their relationship, if you could say. But again, it got reinstated. They seem to be talking again, as they had asked him, "Hey, do you want to be in WWE 2K22?" And I guess that, with that coming out, so I guess now Snoop Dogg and WWE seem to be back on somewhat good terms. And again, just a lot of interesting quirks. I mean, you got Snoop Dogg, who is not really is making guest appearances on AEW because, again, big time show is, he's a judge and it's on the Turner Network, but he's also a Hall of Famer for WWE, so it's very convoluted and crazy over there. And of course, I have a reaction with the whole Mickie James, and of course, we all know the big firings, releases several weeks ago. And what had happened in the fact that Mickie James got her gear and, her stuff sent in a box in a trash bag. I don't know who in their right mind over there at WWE was smart enough, had the common sense to think, well, since she doesn't work here anymore, or these people don't work here anymore, let's just throw their stuff in trash bags and just toss it over, just toss it in a box and ship it off to them. So it's just completely dumb to the fact that this is how you treat someone who has been with your wrestling company for the longest time, is considered hopefully going to be in the Hall of Fame, and all that she's done for your company. You're just going to put her stuff in a trash bag and just, we're just going to ship it off like as is in trash. Completely stupid. But other news, Ronda Rousey, 4 months has announced that she is 4 months pregnant and is expecting. Congratulations to Ronda Rousey and her new addition to her family. It's going to be great. And I guess Dark Side of the Ring has announced that Dark Side of the Ring that has a show on Vice. They're going to be covering in their topics for season 3. They are going to be talking about Brian Pillman, Nick Gage, Collision in Korea. They're going to be talking about the Ultimate Warrior. They're going to be talking about Dynamite Kid, Grizzly Smith, Johnny K9, aka Bruiser Bedlam, the steroid trials from Mr. McMahon's 1994 trial. They're going to be talking about FMW. They're going to be talking about the plane ride from hell from 2002 with WWE's European tour flight from all the way back in 2002. Luna Vachon, XPW. They're going to be talking about Chris who better than Canyon? And that's a stacked lineup of stuff to talk about right there. I mean, the Collision in Korea back in 95 with WCW and New Japan Pro Wrestling. That event, I'm very well intrigued with and want to see what everything with that whole event right there, because I wouldn't have ever thought that WCW New Japan was going to do an event in Korea, in North Korea, in one of the most hostile places on the planet, with everything that North Korea has, is doing, in their roles and their leadership. So it's just going to be very interesting, to say the least, for that one interview or that one series right there, that it's going to be a great episode to go and watch, guys. Go and check that out, along with the Steroid Trials and the Plane Ride from Hell. Even Brian Pillman, of course. Brian Pillman, can't wait for that episode, especially since that one's going to be the premiere episode on May 6th. And then the big news out of AEW. AEW is looking to be hitting the road and having fans again in arenas again, starting in July. Guys, that is going to be huge, to say the least. And we're going to talk AEW in a short little bit with what is on the horizon, because we're coming up on Blood and Guts, and I cannot wait for that. That is going to be crazy as hell. But that is it for the news portion of the show. Talking about what has happened on TV. So again, if you have not seen anything or watched anything on the TV side of the world, please mute whatnot, because we're going to spoil some things for you guys. So, because we're going to talk about what went down in the week in wrestling. Impact Rebellion was this past weekend, and of course, the big main event match, Kenny Omega versus Rich Swann for both the Impact World Title and the AEW World Title. Winner takes all, and this match was humongously big, guys. It was huge. A 23-minute match. It was awesome. Back and forth. Crazy spots galore. Unfortunately for Mr. Rich Swann, that it did not pan out for him, and Kenny Omega is now your world champion in Impact, AAA, and in AEW. He is a belt collector, ladies and gentlemen. It is so impressive that you have one man who is now going to two companies outside of the company he is signed with, going to Impact and being their world champion, going to AAA and being their world champion, and now is going to be on and defending this title more and more. More than likely is going to be at Slammiversary in July for Impact Wrestling. And if you saw the commercial for Impact Wrestling, you saw several hints of how their world is going to change again. And you saw in the commercial some little snips of Samoa Joe, Mickie James, Chelsea Green, Laurel Van Ness, obviously going back to Impact Wrestling. You saw the Great Muta. You saw a young Kazuchika Okada, and a young Tetsuya Naito in the package. And you also saw flags of Mexico and Australia. Now, I'm interested to know what's the deal with Mexico and flag snips in the commercial. But to see Samoa Joe probably go back, Mickie James go back to Impact, Chelsea Green go back to Impact Wrestling, Okada and Naito going back for another run, but being a different version of themselves, the more impactful, the more world-known Okada and Naito. That's going to be a very well received Slammiversary, depending on what they have planned for Slammiversary in a couple of months in the month of July. So it's going to be a fun, depending, and even more so, what are they going to have Kenny Omega do for Slammiversary? That's going to be the real highlight between now for the next 3 months, depending on when they have what day they have settled on for Slammiversary in July. So we got 3 months to kill here with Impact Wrestling. So moving on to this past, off of Impact Rebellion. It was a great pay-per-view. Make sure you guys go check that out. As again, go quickly run down the card again. Pre-show, Rosemary and Havoc taking on Kimberly and Susan. Rosemary and Havoc picking up the victory. Main card, 3-way match for the X Division title, as Austin Ace defended against Josh Alexander and TJP. Great matchup in the X Division. It's always a fun division to check out. Exciting and impactful. Josh Alexander, your new X Division champ. Violent by Design, Cody Deaner, Joe Doring, and Rhino, and an unknown mystery replacement, as Eric Young was not medically cleared. I guess he was not wrestling. Taking on Chris Sabin, Edwards, the Cowboy, James Storm, and Willie Mack in 8-man tag team match. And the replacement for Eric Young, you might know him as Big Cass, but is going by W. Morrisley at Impact Wrestling, making first real TV appearance in a long time. Since, I would say Ring of Honor, appearance that he came through the crowd with his former running buddy Enzo Amore, and then first real match since WWE days, other than being on the indie circuit. But Impact's picking up speed here, guys, in the content and the action. So go and check out Impact Wrestling, guys. Violent by Design and W. Morrisley pick up the victory in the 8-man tag. One-on-one action. Brian Myers taking on Matt Cordona. Matt Cordona loses to his frenemy, I would say, in Brian Myers in a decent match. Impact Tag Team titles up for grabs as Fire and Flava defending against Jordan Grace and a newly signed Rachel Ellering, a.k.a. the daughter of Precious Paul Ellering, manager of the What a Rush tag team of LOD. Jordan Grace, I've loved her work so far that I've seen is awesome. And that's it. I got nothing else for her. Jordan Grace picks up the victory, or Jordan Grace and Rachel Ellering are your new Impact World Tag Team Knockout Tag Team champs. I can't wait to see what these two are going to be doing as a tag team moving forward, as they are the tag team champs. Last man standing match between Sami Callihan and Trey Miguel. Trey Miguel defeats Sami Callihan in the last man standing match, in a brutal last man standing match. Impact World Tag Team titles up for grabs. A rematch from last month's Hardcore Justice event, with Finn Juice defending against the Good Brothers, Gallows and Anderson. Finn Juice picking up the victory and retaining their Impact World Tag Team titles, representing New Japan Pro Wrestling. One-on-one Impact Knockouts title up for grabs, as Denona Perezzo taking on Tennille Dashwood. And it was a okay match. Perezzo picks up the victory. And we saw afterwards the return of Taylor Wilde, as she returns to Impact Wrestling after a many-year hiatus from the company, returns. And then, of course, the main event I already talked about. Kenny Omega is now the Impact and AEW World Champions. The belt collector is real with Kenny Omega, the god of wrestling, adds another belt to his collection. That was Impact Rebellion this past weekend. Let's head on over and talk a little bit about what went down on SmackDown this past week. And again, while I'm on the subject, again, with seeing what's been taking place with Raw and SmackDown, and it is well known that Raw 3 hours, SmackDown 2 hours. And my issues, of course, with SmackDown is that you have a short amount of time or shorter amount of time to do matches than Raw. And while, again, SmackDown has the shorter amount, the shorter matches, 4 compared to Raw's, like 6 or 7 on a random Raw, SmackDown has been putting in the quality of the work, while Raw's been putting in the quantity. And I feel like maybe things need to get shaken up on SmackDown to where you don't just have one women's match. Maybe you put 2 women's matches in there. Maybe you get more interest, you get the tag team scene more time on TV. And I'm talking about the tag team titles, the tag team champions on the scene to where they're doing more. And it's more interesting on SmackDown. But again, just my thoughts on that, quick thoughts on with SmackDown Raw. And I'll talk about Raw in a few minutes. There are a little bit after talking about SmackDown. Daniel Bryan, Cesaro taking on Jey Uso and Seth Rollins. Great matchup on that with Daniel Bryan, Cesaro. Of course, both of them looking to get into the title picture. Daniel Bryan, of course, trying to get the title or at least one more time in the title picture. Cesaro trying to get into the title picture, the Universal title picture against Roman Reigns. Jey Uso and Seth Rollins lose to Cesaro and Daniel Bryan. Tamina taking on Nia Jackson one-on-one competition. Tamina picking up the victory over Nia Jax. Apollo Crews taking on Kevin Owens, defending the Intercontinental Championship. Interesting scenario for Kevin Owens to get into an Intercontinental Championship match, this quickly, while, again, feeling like Big E is still, in that title hunt, trying to regain the Intercontinental Championship. And have this, interesting story with Apollo Crews. But Apollo Crews picks up the victory, retains over Kevin Owens, and keeps his Intercontinental Championship. Rey Mysterio and Dominic take on Alpha Academy in tag team action. Rey Mysterio and Dominic picking up the victory. I'm liking Rey Mysterio and Dominic. I want them to be the tag team champions. I want to see them as the SmackDown tag team champs. It would be so impactful to see those two as as father and son tag team champions, and to get them a good story with Ziggler and Rude that they can do something with. I feel like they can make something happen with those 4 men. Maybe even add in Alpha Academy, or hell, even put Jay and Roman in for a quick second, or for like a couple matches, to where maybe Roman wants to add the tag team titles to his repertoire to be a double champion. Just something to throw out there for thought. We do know this coming Friday, tomorrow night, that we're going to see Daniel Bryan taking on Roman Reigns one last time, because it will be the Universal Championship on the line. Daniel Bryan taking on Roman Reigns. And if Daniel Bryan does not win, he is out of SmackDown. He is gone from SmackDown. And the way that Daniel Bryan's been putting it, that he is looking to step away from the full-time job and be a part-timer. Maybe he has one last quick run in him, maybe to last through SummerSlam. If Daniel Bryan can go through SummerSlam, maybe as the Universal Champion, and take on Cesaro, and that would be a great matchup right there. Maybe, again, with Roman Reigns, Cesaro, and Daniel Bryan, maybe Edge when he returns, something to that degree. That would be fun to watch right there. Edge versus Daniel Bryan world title or universal title right there. Or at least give Roman Reigns a little bit of a break, because he's been holding on to that title since SummerSlam. Actually, no, since Payback. That was like 2 weeks or a week later from SummerSlam. So I think it'd probably be time for Roman Reigns to get a title break, or at least a trade around to that point on SmackDown. But that was SmackDown for this past week. Let's talk Raw quickly. Raw, of course, again, more of quantity rather than quality in the eyes of the fans. Mason T-Bar taking on Braun Strowman and Drew McIntyre. Mason T-Bar beating Braun Strowman and Drew McIntyre. I guess later on we had Braun taking on Drew McIntyre, number one contenders. Opportunity for Braun. As we know, Drew is going to get a title shot at WrestleMania Backlash for the WWE title. Braun picks up the victory, can beat Drew McIntyre. He is inserted into the Backlash or WrestleMania Backlash match, make it a triple threat match, which he did. Braun Strowman beats Drew McIntyre. He is now a part of the triple threat, or a part of the WWE Championship match, which now is a triple threat match at WrestleMania Backlash. New Day and Damian Priest taking on Miz, Jackson Ryker, and Elias. New Day and Damian Priest loving their action over the last several weeks and months. I feel like they can bring in the quantity and the content. Again, loving it. New Day, Damian Priest beats Miz, Ryker, and Elias in 6-man tag action. In 6-woman tag action, you have the champs, the tag champs, and the Raw Women's Champ, Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, and Rhea Ripley taking on Naomi, Lana, and Asuka. And Jax, Baszler, and Ripley hold their ground. They beat Naomi, Lana, and Asuka in 6-woman tag action. Loving what Rhea Ripley's been doing recently, as she's now the Raw Women's Champ. I feel like she's going to hold on to that title for quite a while. And I want to see who you could probably pair her up with at SummerSlam. I want to see who they're going to probably put her with. Charlotte taking on Mandy Rose. Charlotte picks up the victory. And again, her suspension is lifted. She has paid her fine in full. She is back on the active roster after a week. And then, of course, the tag team we never knew we wanted, but we got this past week. Riddle and Randy Orton rated, the team of RK Bro, taking on former members of the Hurt Business, Edric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin, and Matt Riddle and Randy Orton as a tag team is a tag team I feel like we needed. Unfortunately, I feel like this is something that WWE could put some money behind, and they could get some shirts and some merch out this business with Randy Orton. I mean, think about it. Randy Orton, for the longest time, has been in the title hunt, the WWE Championship title hunt, Universal title hunt. Then The Fiend stepped into it, and he's been stressing with The Fiend and Alexa Bliss for a long time. maybe it's time for Randy Orton to just relax. And, teaming with Matt Riddle, maybe we could see them as the Raw Tag Team Champions soon. Maybe even by SummerSlam, that this team rated, I would even say or I can't say rated RKO because it's Orton and Edge, but Team RK Bro. You got the mellowness of Matt Riddle and the Viper, Randy Orton. I can only imagine the Viper just relaxed, but could still strike you at any times. Like, yeah, right there. But I want to see what they're going to do with Randy Orton and Matt Riddle. Sorry, Riddle as a tag team. If this is a true team that they're going to maybe make as a tag team, give them a tag team title shot, tag team titles, give Randy Orton some, relax from the WWE title picture for a little while. Maybe get Riddle some, some elevate his talent and the right person with him. I think that could be with Randy Orton, and I can't wait to see it. It is going to look great. That was Raw this past week. NXT on Tuesday. NXT has, again, been on fire, guys. I've been loving it. Cannot say nothing bad about NXT. Mercedes Martinez taking on Dakota Kai and beating her, via disqualification. It was a good, okay matchup up until that DQ. Zendaya Ramir taking on Toni Storm. Again, Toni Storm has been kind of flexing a little bit. I mean, she's been losing to unknown, new, essentially rookies or new people. And this is not the Toni Storm that is a former NXT UK Women's Champ. This isn't the former Mae Young Classic winner. I want to say, yeah, Mae Classic winner. Like, yeah, I think so. But Toni Storm needs to find her storm, get that storm back to, raging and fast if she wants to get back to that NXT Women's title picture. Bronson Reed taking on Austin Theory, and the story continues between Indy and Dexter. I don't know what's going on with those two. If they had a little spat or something, but I think Indy might want to change her tune a little bit to be like she got saved by Dexter from Austin Theory attacking. But Bronson Reed, of course, picks up the victory over Austin Theory. He will now get an NXT North America Championship opportunity in the near future, or hopefully at the next takeover over the next couple weeks. Imperium taking on Drake Maverick and Killian Dane. Imperium beats Drake Maverick and Killian Dane in tag team action. And Legado del Fantasma taking on MSK and Kushida, the reigning tag team and cruiserweight champions on the NXT brand. And that match was awesome, guys. It was impactful. It was fast-paced. And it was awesome. Legado del Fantasma beat the tag champs and the cruiserweight champ in 6-man tag action. It was a great NXT this week. Moving on over to Dynamite as we head out and close out the show for the week. We're going to talk about Blood and Guts next week in a short little bit. Dynamite this past week, we had Brian Cage taking on Hangman Page. Cage from Team Taz beats Page in one-on-one action. The Young Bucks, the new Young Bucks, beat Matt and Mike Sydal. And funny, of course, they use the Johnny Cage nut shot. Toasty. And the BTE of Trigger. Young Bucks pick up the victory. We do know that SCU's Christopher Daniels and Kaz are going to be the next, or they're going to be the number one contenders for the tag team titles. Can't wait to see that matchup. Of course, if Kaz or Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels lose a match as a tag team, they will no longer be tag team partners again. So again, I cannot wait for that. Orange Cassidy taking on Pentagon Jr. Orange Cassidy picks up the victory over Pentagon Jr. Chris Statlander taking on Penelope Ford in one-on-one action. Chris Statlander picks up the victory in a great one-on-one women's action. The Factory beats Nightmare Family in six-man tag action with Billy Gunn, Dustin Rhodes. I forgot. Actually, no, it was tag team action. Sorry. The Factory, of course, QT Marshall's Factory. We saw the return of Cody Rhodes beating up on his former best friend in QT Marshall on top of his bus. And then, of course, TNT title opportunity as Darby Allin taking on 10 of the Dark Order. And what a matchup for the TNT title. Darby Allin beats 10 with the roll-up. With the reversal roll-up from the turnbuckle, and picks up the victory and retains his TNT title. Again, I love what Darby Allin's been doing, especially as TNT champion. I think he's going to hold on to that title for quite a while, and it's going to be great action for him. Can't wait to see who his next opponent's going to be for the TNT title. But now we get to what we are going to be coming to see next week, ladies and gentlemen. Blood and Guts next week. We know it will be the Inner Circle versus the Pinnacle, and we now know what the Blood and Guts is going to be like, because we're throwing it back old school, ladies and gentlemen. We're going back to the true original War Game settings from the Jim Crockett promotion days, from the WCW days, because it will be two rings, one giant cage encompassing both rings with a roof, not the WWE version that's in NXT right now, that they're doing the crazy stuff off the top of the cage. It will be the original Jim Crockett promotion WCW version of War Games, aka for this version, Blood and Guts. And the rules for this match is, of course, you know them, you love them. Team style. One team will have an advantage throughout the match, and of course, it is the Pinnacle, so they will have the advantage of the 2-on-1 handicap match or 2-on-1, then the 3-on-2, the 4-on-3, all the way till all the members come in, and of course, coming in at time intervals during the match. But this time, the only way to win this match, and again, we're going old school, there will be no pinfalls. So pinfalls, toss them out the door. The only way to win this match, after all of the members are in the Blood and Guts match, is submission or surrender. You cannot win by pinfall. You cannot win by escape of the cage. Walking out the door. Your team has to submit or surrender to lose the match. And we know it will be the Inner Circle taking on the Pinnacle. The Inner Circle of Chris Jericho, Jake Hager, Sammy Guevara, Santana, and Ortiz taking on MJF, Wardlow, Sean Spears, Cash Wheeler, and Dax Hardwood in the Blood and Guts match. But we also know next week we're going to see Cody Rhodes taking on QT Marshall in one-on-one action. Kenny Omega and Michael Nakazawa will take on Mox and Eddie Kingston in tag team action. Britt Baker will have a match against an unknown female. We don't know yet, to be determined. And then SCU, or actually, I think they fortunately told us unfortunately, SCU will be in a fatal four-way tag team match for a future AEW World Tag Team title opportunity, as SCU will take on Jurassic Express, Varsity Blondes, and the Acclaimed in a fatal 4-way tag team match. That's what's going to go down Dynamite next week, live on the program. But I do believe that is going to be it for me, guys. Again, it was a great, nice little break for me, guys. But actually, let's get out before we get out of here completely. Let's run down the normal stuff we have here, our house clean rules. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on all of our social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and our YouTube pages. You can find us on Facebook. You just search the Flex Network. On Twitter, you can find us at the Flex Network 1 for your fantasy football and your football content. You can find us at MMA Evergreen for your mixed martial arts and UFC content. And then, of course, I know last week I said we're shutting it down and we're moving over. Nope. Sorry, the page is back because we're back at FlexNet_PW Elite for your wrestling content. We're back on that. And then, of course, our YouTube pages. You should be following us. Just search Flex Network and Flex Network Wrestling for your content on YouTube. And of course, we're always on that podcast scene. We're on pretty much on all the content, on all the areas, Spotify, Apple, you name it, we're there. But if we're not somewhere where you listen to podcasts, let us know. We'll get there and we'll flex on that. But that's going to be it for me, guys. I'm out of here. I'm going to go enjoy wrestling as the best way I know how with Friday Night SmackDown tomorrow night, and of course, watch a little bit of the draft, the NFL draft. It's that time of the year. But that's going to be it for me, guys. I will check you guys out next week. So I am the SnowMan, and I will see you guys next week. Peace. Oh, da.
This has been the Pro Wrestling Week in Review show.
We got some fellow Canadians.
But when you're from Calgary,
Where's that?
Alberta, Canada,
A one-way first-class ticket to Larryland. What is it with you folks coming to Florida? Stay in your own country. This is the Flex Network. This is the Flex Network. Flex on them. Flex on everybody. Right here. Why me? Why me? Why me?
don't blame Canada, blame yourself.
Feels like showtime every minute to me. I can't help it.
No. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Ta-ta for now.
We're out of time. Good night on Nitro.
The preceding announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
Well, you're welcome, Jurassic Slap Ass.